So basically I've got 3 licks for you today. They're all in the key of D minor. I'm going to go into the concept a lot more afterwards, but initially I think the best thing to do is to just learn the 3 licks and then I'll break them down for you afterwards. Essentially they're all using the harmonic minor descending, and then we're ascending using the diminished scale. So here are the 3 licks. So let's break down lick number 1. This is based, as I said, in the key of D minor. We are in the E minor caged position, so at the 10th fret. As I mentioned in the introduction, the whole idea behind this technique is that we are descending using a scale and ascending using an arpeggio. So the first part of this lick is basically just outlining the fingering of a D harmonic minor scale in the E minor caged position. So here it is. Nothing out of the ordinary there. D harmonic minor. And then what I've got here is an enclosure around an A. Alright? And then that leads me into the diminished arpeggio section of the lick. Now, if you don't know what a diminished arpeggio is, then I'll just explain it to you now. It's basically a stack of minor thirds built on top of each other. So if I wanted to play a diminished A arpeggio, I would start with an A and then I'd C. So the cool thing about this is it follows this 3 fret gap in between each note. So we have A, C, and then I switch over to the next string and I move up 1 fret and do the same shape. Same thing again, over to the next string, up 1 fret, same shape. Next string, up 1 fret, same shape. And then on the top 3 strings, we have this fingering position here, at least in this instance, in the way that I'm using it here. So why do we use it? What sound do we get? Well, the whole idea behind these riffs they are based on the idea of an A7 going to a D minor, so a 5 going to a 1. And what the diminished arpeggio gives us is the flat 9 sound. Okay, so we use the diminished scale to get that flat 9. So that helps us also understand how to remember which diminished arpeggio we use over a 7th chord. So the idea is if I've got an A7 chord, I would play the diminished arpeggio that starts a semitone higher than the root. So in this case, A sharp. And then I resolve it to a note from the tonic chord. So let's go back to this section here then. We've got our enclosure. I can play the A because obviously it's an A7 chord. I don't have to play an A sharp. I can play an A, that's good as well. And then I launch the diminished arpeggio from the C sharp, from the major third. Okay. Now, one of the cool things about a diminished scale is that you can move it 3 frets in any direction and you get the same notes or the same collection of notes. And that's what I'm doing here. Instead of not going downwards, I'm going up. So I've got... So I'm just descending through the diminished arpeggio and landing on a tonic. Alright, so that's lick number 1. So here we are with lick number 2. This is based on our A minor cage position. And again, you know, like with the previous riff, it's the same thing with all 3 riffs. I'm just using the D harmonic minor scale in each of these positions. Alright, so the first part of the riff, again, I'm just descending using it. Now, technically, you could kind of call this what would be a Phrygian dominant. It starts on the A, we're playing over an A7. But I don't think of it like that, even though it technically is. I just think of it as started my D minor harmonic scale from the A note. Okay, and that leads us to the E note here. Now, in the previous riff, over the A7, I launched off of the major third for our diminished arpeggio. I can do the same thing, but this time I'm going to be launching from the 5th. And again, like the previous one, I'm just doing a diminished scale going up, but a little variation on the fingering this time. I wanted to give you something a little bit different, so show you the 2 different ways that people tend to use their fingerings over the diminished arpeggio. Nothing different here, but instead of this here, this kind of shape, I'm jumping up 2 frets, obviously, because I'm compensating for the beat. And then resolving it to the D. Okay, so again, really simple idea. Harmonic minor, and then from here, obviously in the riff, our lick, sorry, we're doubling up each note. And resolving it to the tonic. Finally, let's look at lick number 3. This is based in the C minor position of the cage series. So here we are using this fingering for the D minor, D harmonic minor. And this time I thought I'd make it a little bit different. Instead of having it in straight 16th notes, we were using triplets to descend. Alright, now here we're on our D here, and we're looking to hit a note from our diminished arpeggio. So what I do to do that, we can use a diminished arpeggio starting on C sharp, again like we did in lick number 1, which would be the 3rd of the 5 chord, or the 7th, A7. And all I do is I do a chromatic approach. Okay, and then I launch off of this note here then, which is the C sharp. So there's a cool little variation when I do to the diminished scale here. So what I do is, as per usual, instead of jumping up 1 fret instantly, I go over to the 14th fret here and do this shape here. Okay, and then carry on the diminished scale as it is. So this is a really cool little trick. It adds some extra notes to your diminished arpeggio. And you can do this anywhere. I mean, if I wanted to do, I'll start it here at the 9th fret, which would be a C sharp, same kind of thing, with just an octave lower. But just a cool little extra notes that you can use to flash out your diminished arpeggio. All right. So as I said, really simple. Again, the idea is descending between for the D harmonic minor scale, and then doing walking up chromatically to the C sharp, diminished, extra notes of the diminished arpeggio there, and then I'm going a semitone below the A, and then ending on the A, which would be the fifth of the D minor chord, and this note here is just a chromatic approach, okay? Just sounds pretty cool and leads the ear back to the tonic. So there we are, lick number 3. So hopefully now that you've learned those 3 licks, one of the reasons why I presented them in this way is that if you have done so, you have now learnt the harmonic minor in 3 positions. So you should know it now in the A minor position, the E minor position, and the C minor position. The cool thing with the diminished arpeggio is that we can then use that to link the different positions together to create really long flowing lines. I'm not going to tab this out, I'm not going to tab out any of that information. This is something that I want you to play around with yourself, because actually you're going to learn it much better if you try and discover your own pathways through this. Again, I'm just kind of coming up with this on the spot, but it's just an idea of how we might link these things together. So I'm going to go through each of those positions and link them all together using the diminished arpeggio. You can see here, you can kind of basically go on for days like that. So I really hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. It all really helps. It takes a lot of work putting these videos together, but it's worth it if I know that people are going to be using them and getting some lit. So enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, your week, wherever we are, and I'll see you again next time.